All right, good morning, everyone, or I guess good afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome to the Loan Officer Sales Training with the Mortgage Calculator. We'll wait a minute here to get started. Let us go live on all the different platforms. Appreciate you tuning in nice and early. Got the chat up on the screen there. Feel free to drop a comment there in the chat. All right. It looks like we're live on all the different platforms now, so we can go ahead and get it started here. So, welcome everyone. My name is Kyle Hershey. I'm the COO of the Mortgage Calculator, and this is our loan officer sales training that we do every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Today, we're going to be talking about MLO success stories. Now, I've gone through some of these before just because some of these I'm pulling out for an exact, purpose, right? But obviously, tons of other success stories, not to take anything away from any of the other loan officers who are, doing great right now, right? If I didn't pick your scenario to talk about, that's totally no, uh, I guess, nothing against you, right? So, okay, let's do this here. Let me change my screen here. All right. So, MLO success stories. Now, the MLOs who have success, particularly at the mortgage calculator, right? Obviously, uh, I've been at other companies, but within our framework and our model and our team and our company, the people who have success, they do one thing more than anyone else, which we talked about yesterday, which is make calls. That's that's typically the difference, right? You can really usually look at the activity there on the website. And if we look down the list at who's making the most calls, they're typically the people who are closing the most loans. There's a direct correlation, right? So that's how they're getting there in the first place. For the most part, right? And a couple of our loan officers are very realtor focused, and so they do well like that. But most of our loan officers are pretty interested in leads because that's what we do here at the Mortgage Calculator. So we don't have as many kind of realtor based loan officers as most companies may. We have a lot of lead based loan officers. And so, very important to just know that the ones that are having success are the ones that are making more calls. It's really not too crazy of a formula, right? We all know what we need to do. We just got to get out there and do it. What we don't want to do is spend a bunch of time trying to do whatever else we can to get around it. There's some like funny memes and stuff of, but both loan officers and realtors, funny, memes out there about it of, trying to make 100 TikTok videos instead of just picking up the phone and making calls, right? Like, and trying to do this and that and find these ways to circumvent not having to pick up the phone and make calls. But there's nothing that's ever going to circumvent picking up the phone and making calls. So when we talk about these MLO success stories, just these are just examples of like some deals so that I can talk about some lessons for them. But just know the reason why people got the deal to this point is typically because of making more calls. Okay, first one. If you've been at the mortgage calculator, you've heard about this story, but I cannot do a MLO success story training without talking about the best example, maybe ever in the mortgage industry, of an incredible success story that anybody can accomplish. That our loan officer Mike Vasquez went through, right? So he's still a loan officer here. And back a couple years ago, when Mike first joined our company, he was brand new, right? Never done a loan before. We were the first company he ever worked for. In his first 3 months as a loan officer of working for us, he closed almost 5 million, 4.8 or whatever it was, almost 5 million in production in 90 days, right? Which is just absolutely insane. Now, keep in mind, this was not when rates were super low. It wasn't, rates weren't as high as they are now, but this was not during like the COVID heyday of, super low rates, right? And so, rates had already started to rise and stuff. So it wasn't like a gimme, right? But the biggest lesson here with this, and I try to hammer it home all the time, if you've heard this example before, remember that like whatever it was, 3.5 million or something like that of that 5 million was from one client. And he had to call that client 8 times before the client gave him a shot, right? And so he just kept followed up 8 times. On the 8th time he called, the gentleman said, hey, another lender just fell through today. I'll give you a shot. He ended up doing the loan. He ended up consulting with, his team leader, which was actually Jose himself at the time. And he did the meetings. He went and looked at the guidelines. He, did all of the work, and he did a great job. So then the gentleman used him 2 more times. And that gentleman owns like 12 properties. A bunch of them are like multi-million-dollar, but they're like really expensive Airbnb properties, right? And so he ended up doing a few more loans, which equaled, like I said, maybe 3.5 million or something like that of that almost 5 million. The other 2 clients that he closed were our leads too. So keep in mind, these were all company leads. So Mike came in as a brand new loan officer, never done a loan in his life, never worked anywhere. First 90 days, closed almost 5 million in 3 months with 0 business of his own. 100% company leads, company business, right? Now, if he didn't follow up 8 times, he wouldn't have any of that money, right? He wouldn't have any of that production. And so it's extremely important to make sure that you follow up. We talked about that just earlier this week on the follow-up training. It's just, you never know what you are missing out on, right? Like Mike could have never known that he would have done millions from this one person if he only followed up 7 times. So when we talk about a lead is forever on all these lead trainings, that's exactly what we mean, is you never know what's going to happen or what's going to change. So Mike's calling the person, they're not answering. Oh, well, this person must not be interested. I'm not going to give them a call again. But something changed when he had called him. Mike didn't do that. He said, I'm going to keep setting a reminder task to call him every week, give him a call. And it paid off big time because, again, things change. So even people who may say not ready or don't want to do it, or people that just aren't answering, whatever it is, you never know what changes. And something changed that exact day that Mike called him. So if Mike had set a task for a month out to call him, 2 months, 3 months, then this wouldn't have happened because the gentleman would already done these transactions. It was because he kept setting a follow-up task for like the next week and just following up, pretty aggressively until he ended up calling him at the right time. Another great example here, 5 loans from one Facebook comment. We talk about this on the Facebook groups training that we did. One comment on a group post, one person saying, hey, this is my loan scenario. And then us coming and saying, hey, you could use a DSCR loan for this, but supernatural, and then didn't put a business card and didn't put a flyer or a link or anything, just genuinely commented saying, hey, this would be a DSCR loan would be perfect. And then the woman, messaged us and said, hey, well, can you do a DSCR loan and how do we do it? And we ended up getting 5 loans from that one person. And then now that person is still referring us deals from other people. We literally are still getting deals from them. They're now hooked up with one of our loan officers and they're referring the loan officer deals. So one genuine Facebook comment turning into 5 different loans. And then now a bunch of referrals, 5 loans from that one person. Now we're getting referrals from that one person. And then another example here, 2 referral loans from a non-customer, right? So we have loan officers that are getting multiple referrals of loans that they closed that were referred to them by customers they never closed. This is the flywheel we talk about, right? We talked about this on the Flywheel training. You can turn non-customers into promoters, is what the Flywheel calls it, but essentially refers to us. That's what that means, right? So that's real life examples of things that are actually happening, of the same loan officer from the same customer that's a non-customer, the same person that they didn't do a loan with referred them to people that they did do a loan with. So that also goes back to what we talk about on the Flywheel training. Nobody is wasted. You're only wasting your time making calls if you're choosing to waste your time. You could talk to 1,000 people. Well, let's make it realistic. You could talk to 100 people that day and nobody's ready to go. And you think, wow, I just wasted my whole day. Well, no, you only wasted your whole day if you were throwing people away and not, trying to talk to them and forming relationships and, providing knowledge to them. And these are the type of things where they're not only going to remember you and come to you when they're ready, but they're going to refer people, right? So we got to make sure that we stay on top of that. It's only a waste if you wasted the time. But if you went through, you did your thing, you didn't throw people away or throw them to the side. Again, this however much $50,000-$60,000 in his pocket or whatever it was that Mike made, he could have not made it if he didn't stay on top of it, right? So if he had thrown the guy away and said, oh, the guy said he's not ready, and the reason why I keep harping on this is because I see so many loan officers out there that are just trying to pick the low hanging fruit, right? And they throw everyone else away. When in this scenario here, Mike would have lost out on a bunch of money if he threw the person away because he wasn't, answering the phone or wasn't ready to when the first time he talked to him or whatever. And then now he's missing out, on 50 grand in his pocket or whatever, just because he was looking for the low hanging fruit. But that's not what Mike was doing. Mike was going through the motions and going through the system and working the system. And if you work it, then it works. And then the same thing here with the 2 referrals. If we take that non-customer and we're just like, oh, whatever, they're not a customer, I'm moving on to the next one, then we don't end up getting 2 referrals, which are layups, right? A referral from a customer or non-customer is a layup. And so again, it's so important to make sure that we do our job time and time again, day in and day out, and we do it the same, and we do it happily and respectfully, and we treat everyone the same and with respect, and we don't ever just kind of like throw people away or just move on quickly. I just want to get rid of this person because they're not going to put money into my pocket right this second. That's not what we're doing. And then just the other day, somebody closed a $1 million loan that was their first loan, and it was from a company lead. And so that's just a great example of, here at the Mortgage Calculator, you don't necessarily need, and when I say first loan, I mean first loan as a loan officer, not their first loan here, right? So that's one of the things that's great. I hope that, people don't take it for granted that a brand new loan officer could come in with 0 contacts or business of their own, take a company lead, do $1 million loan for their first loan ever, make a $15,000 commission for their first loan ever, and, get that confidence going as well, get that experience. And that's not going to happen at any other company, right? Other companies are not giving $1 million leads to brand new loan officers who've never even gone through a loan. But at the Mortgage Calculator, we have the support that you need so that when you get those leads, just make sure to use the support, the knowledge center, the training center, the team leader, the sales manager. And at the end of the day, we'll get the thing across the finish line, just like it was here, right? When Mike did all that volume, he was brand new. So not only did he do all that volume and make all those calls and the follow-up calls and stuff, but he was meeting to actually do the loans, right? So he met with Jose over and over, learning how to do the loan, right? Because at the time, Jose was his team leader. So, it's just really important that you take advantage of the leads and work the leads, and just know that, you're not going to get other opportunities like this to close your first loan ever, to come into a company with no contacts of your own, without any business of yourself, right? Other companies are only interested in whatever business you can bring them, right? Out of your network. You're not going to find a place that's going to let you come in and give you $1 million lead that ends up closing for your first loan ever as a loan officer, and provides enough support to get you through actually originating that loan, which again, we did up here with Mike. I mean, imagine how much support Mike needed for a brand new loan officer, knew nothing about loans, to close $5 million worth of loans in 3 months. And we're talking about, short-term rental DSCR loans and stuff like that. While a DSCR loan is easy, a short-term rental DSCR loan is usually not as easy. So, especially for like a refi, which he was doing. So, very important there. And with that being said, I want to keep these short again, because we do them every day. So, just a couple great examples there to go through. Hopefully some motivation. And remember, this $1 million loan here, this is right now in this climate. So I keep trying to preach. There's deals going on. There's deals to be done. And remember, most of our leads at the Mortgage Calculator are investor leads anyways, which is a totally different game. Investors at times are sitting on the sidelines, but a lot of the times when others are sitting on the sidelines and rates are higher, investors are buying even more stuff and refining stuff to buy more stuff. So just keep in mind, especially at the Mortgage Calculator, there's still business being done. There's still business to do. There's still leads to call. There's leads to convert, and the people are doing the transactions. And so, again, somebody just did their first loan ever, $1 million, $15,000 commission, first loan ever in this climate with these rates. But it didn't matter, because they hit the phones, they got the lead, they did what it takes to convert the lead, they met with their team leader and did what it takes to close the lead. And, now they are off and on their way to, becoming a experienced loan officer. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I don't see any questions. I appreciate it, though. Remember, we do this at 12 p.m. Eastern every weekday, where we go through the front end and the sales end of the mortgage business. So we will be back next week. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern, for the next episode of the Loan Officer Sales Training.